Good evening. There have been emotional scenes outside Downing Street as workers from BAE Systems in East Yorkshire made an 11th-hour plea to the Prime Minister to try and save their jobs. David Cameron has tonight agreed to put pressure on the company to try and rethink its proposals to lose almost 900 jobs in Brough. The defence giant blames the decision to end 95 years of aircraft manufacturing on falling orders for the Hawk jet, made famous, of course, by the Red Arrows. Our political editor, Tim Ido, reports.
As dawn broke over Brough, more than 100 workers left the BAE factory for what many feared would be a last-ditch attempt to save their jobs.
We've all got a hope, but I don't believe we're going to be saved. I really don't. I think it's gone too far down the line now. People are starting to leave the site.
They arrived at Westminster, where union leaders and MPs spoke at a rally. A select group of workers and their families went to Downing Street for a meeting with the Prime Minister, where emotions were clearly running high.
If you could speak to the Prime Minister now, what would you say to him?
I'd tell him to consider all the people that have been made redundant, and consider their families and what it's doing to them. Because it really will damage a lot of families, and it's things like my little sister, who's 7, wants to go to Disneyland Paris, and that's all she wants, but it's something that won't happen if they make the redundancies, because we won't be able to afford to.
By meeting BAE staff today, David Cameron fulfilled a promise he made on Look North back in October. But what hope, if any, could the Prime Minister offer these workers? Mr Cameron agreed to put pressure on the company formerly known as British Aerospace to keep more of their defence contracts in this country.
He was very concerned about the problems of Brough. He undertook, frankly, to take a direct interest himself, and the government is going to speak to the company, I think, at some length, and probably quite forcefully from what he said.
Later, the workers met the Labour leader Ed Miliband, who's been critical of what he claims is the government's lack of intervention so far.
While that consultation is going on, I want to do everything I can to support you and after.
With falling orders, BAE Systems claim the job losses at Brough and other sites are necessary to maintain competitiveness. But that will be little comfort to these families on a day of tears at Downing Street.
Well, right at the moment, Tim is in the lobby of the Houses of Parliament. Tim, can workers really expect David Cameron to actually step in if orders worldwide for the Hawk are actually falling and not there?
Well, look, he can't hold a gun to their heads, but what I think he can do is to get his ministers to remind the company that they've benefited over the years and will still benefit from billions of pounds worth of government contracts. Also, much of the technology used by BAE Systems, such as the Hawk jet made famous by the Red Arrows, has been developed with the use of taxpayers' money. So many would argue it's simply unacceptable that they're switching manufacturing of the Hawk, for example, to India or the United States.
The clock is ticking, though, for anyone to step in and actually save the jobs now, isn't it?
Yeah, the 90-day consultation process on these job losses ends on Boxing Day, of all days. Now, what I think will happen tonight is that MPs and union leaders will try to persuade BAE Systems to extend that consultation period into the new year so they can look again at their order book and possibly rethink these job losses to avoid some of the tearful scenes we've seen today, Peter.
Tim, thank you very much indeed, and it goes without saying we will